Hi, everybody.
One man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Aruba, Jamaica, oh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama. Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto. My name is Beach Boy Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We welcome in everybody in the chat tonight. We got Scrubhead, Brownie's Midlife Adventure, Checks My Pulse, Tam Tam is here. We got Glock Maddox, and a whole lot more. So if you guys are here, do us a favor, hit the like button to support the channel, help support Real DeFi. We appreciate you guys being here, and we have a lot to get to tonight. We're going to talk about, do the goalposts need to be moved? Are we looking for a cycle top for Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these different things in 2026? It's an idea that we've kind of toyed around with for a while. Talked to Axis Alive with a few times on this channel. Or are we gonna see some pretty crazy price action soon? It's getting to the point where it's like, well, where is the move gonna come in? We've seen Bitcoin obviously do well this cycle, but not a lot else. So we're going to see where we're at there, as Ethereum has been lagging. Speaking of lagging, hopefully I'm not too far behind Ewok, but how are you feeling about the markets and everything this evening?
I feel pretty good. It's another sideways kind of week. Not much going on. Consolidation rough. Roughly the same price. I don't think it's done a whole lot of price action since we were here last week. It's kind of, in fact, maybe down even a little bit. So, yeah. But other than that, it's just the normal. It's kind of boring, kind of blah. Not much news going on, not much excitement, still some drama in the Twitter space, and yeah, it is what it is, right? People are kind of I guess what the word is, just not content. I mean, they're just all over the place. They just wanted to do something. So
Yeah, it's been like that for quite a while too. I mean, and I understand it. I mean, like I know there's that argument, and I guess this is what we're about to get into. But the argument that I lost my train of thought because I saw something about Blippy in the chat. But the age old argument about, this cycle, this time's different, things are different this time. One thing that has been different this time so far is Ethereum and altcoins not running as soon as they usually do. That really can't be debated. Like, that's one thing that has been different this cycle. We haven't seen Ethereum return to a new all-time high. Ethereum and the altcoins had already started doing very well by this time in 2021, and yeah, for the first time, we're not really seeing that this early. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not going to say that it even could get close to or surpass performance from before, but we just have not seen it happen yet, and it's been a Bitcoin only cycle. I think that's been the only thing. Otherwise, I think as far as timing and everything, Bitcoin's been right on time. Its performance has been right on time. It's actually looking pretty damn strong right now, like not dipping down into the 90s again, which it could possibly do. But we can kind of just get into that conversation. I guess I accidentally led us into it. But as far as Bitcoin and Ethereum, we have Bitcoin right now at just about 105K. It's just below there. ETH at just over 2,600 and ever so slightly just trying to close that gap, which it has peeked its head out just a bit over the last couple of weeks. Ethereum's been looking certainly not strong, but I mean, it's been up from the lows. It looks like it has a bit of a bull flag maybe forming here. So whatever direction you want to go first, Ewok, I mean, I think Bitcoin is really sitting pretty. I mean, its timing has been great this cycle. Everything has looked fantastic. It's showing strength right now. I have no worries there, but where are we with ETH and the alts? That's the big question.
Well, yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin first. Obviously, it's the grandpappy. So, I mean, structurally, this thing looks amazing. Look, I mean, it's just stair-stepping up. It consolidates a little. It keeps taking new steps. I think I had mentioned this before, that each one of these new levels that we get to, it appears to be 110, 111 on this last one, but every time we hit a new level, I think 110 would have been 120 might be, maybe 125. Those are psychological levels that I think people will have sell orders for, and it will continue to consolidate until we get some sort of just crazy off the wall candle where there's always an event. There's always something that leads to just massive buying and nobody's selling. So, but yeah, Bitcoin looks great. Ethereum is still playing around in that bull flag that we talked about. It did break through it. It came back down to correct, but it is literally running out of time. I mean, you have, according to this anyway, you've got about 3 days. It looks like, where it needs to really decide what it's going to do. Is it going to break down, or is it really going to take off? So my opinion is that it's going to take off. I think it is totally due to break through here. It did bounce off of the 200-day moving average when it hit that. That's pretty much exactly what it bounced off of when it came back down. So I think it's just building strength, and this is like a arrow being pulled back. I mean, it doesn't have far to go before something has to release here. Another thing I wanted to check out, we haven't really looked at this a whole lot, was the Bitcoin dominance chart. Obviously in the past, when things really start to pop off, you want to look for a top in that. And, we can really be hopeful here back in May that was the top. It was up to about 65% of market dominance as far as the market cap goes. We're down to 64. Ideally, I think you want to see us in the 40 to between 40 and 50, which is where, if we look back at the last top, or where things really started to pop off, it was up around 70%, and it fell in May the whole way down to about 39-40%. And it played with this structure for quite a while, up until about September. And that's, roughly about the top of everything, that second top that happened in 22. April was the first one, I believe. April of 22 was the first top for Bitcoin. And then, it was still around 40%. And then September again was the other one. And then, Bitcoin dominance started picking back up. So I think we really need to pay attention to this structure too. And these numbers of where the Bitcoin dominance is and where things start to fall and kind of pivot into altcoins, into Ethereum. The big buyers, the big companies that are buying this with their ETFs and whatnot are probably going to affect this a little bit. So it could be a little heavier. But still, that's why I think we still need to be between 40 and 50 to really start to see, or headed that in that direction, to see things really get strong for Ethereum. So I definitely want to start keeping an eye on this one.
Well, definitely a great point by you, and something that's been going on is a lot of the, I don't know if I want to just call them Bitcoin maxi types, but like the Ben Cohens and stuff like that, like a lot of people who have been calling for like absolutely insane Bitcoin dominance numbers. They had been calling for a certain number, and then it achieves that, and then they move the goalposts even further. Like, okay, now it's time for it to get here. And it's like, well, at what point, is what you said validated, and that's it. It's over, and it is encouraging that we have seen this Ethereum slight move up. I mean, it's come up from what, 0.0018 or whatever, the ratio, to 0.025 or something like that. So it's been looking better. We do have that bull flag kind of printing right now. And a lot of people that, are open-minded and not Bitcoin maxis are starting to seem open to the idea that Ethereum could maybe shoot up to around 3,200 here soon. I think that's a key CME gap area for it. So we could see that. And then, we'll see where we get after that. But again, and we've talked about this before, that this cycle could resemble 2017 more than it could 2021. I mean, again, May's already gone.
Already is.
We did not see. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and what do you make of that? Like, in terms of like Ethereum and altcoins potentially, like just the literal hockey stick thing, like later this year.
Right. Well, so I was looking at that earlier today too, because I was curious. And we all know that in 2017, it topped out right at Christmas time, right? Bitcoin, where are we going here? 2000. Oh, we got to go way back for that one. So 2017 was this run, and it pretty much topped out. I guess that was the December 17th. This one's a little higher. Looks like the 23rd or 20, whatever it was, of December.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go to Ethereum to look and see when it topped, you're going to find that it was, wait, where are we at? Why are we not catching it? Okay, it was right here. It wasn't until January 14th, 15th, maybe. So it was delayed. It was delayed by about 20 some days. But then I went and was like, okay, what other coins were around at that time? Well, I know Litecoin was around. When did it top back then? And it was December 10th, which was earlier, which is odd. We know Ripple was around then. When did it top? In 17? So, I was going back through and I was looking at these, and its top was about January 5th. So it was actually before Ethereum's top. So it just led me down this weird path of, well, maybe it wasn't so much the altcoin market kind of started the last cycle, the 2021 cycle, 2022, it was 21, but where people would rotate Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then altcoins. So I don't think that really happened in 2017. So that could be the big difference there. I mean, I think everything topped out. And the reason I think that is because everything had a pair to Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin tanked, everything kind of did too. Like Ethereum was a little bit delayed, about 20, 25 days or so. Um, but if it didn't have a pair with Bitcoin, it had a pair with Ethereum. And as soon as those both started to drop, so it didn't have the traditional altcoin season like we think, all right, well, Bitcoin tops, everything plows into Ethereum for another month, then it tops out, then everybody piles into altcoins. But that really didn't happen in 2017, 18 there, January. But it was all over by the middle of January. It was all over.
Right.
So, this goes back to what I was saying when I do think this resembles that. I don't think it's going to go far into 26, whereas other people think it's going to just continue to trickle. I just still don't. I don't see it going much further than January, if anything, if it trickles in. So, just my take on it and how we compare, like you said, it does resemble 17. It does have some differences, but I thought that was interesting how these other things didn't really do a whole lot after. There was no rotation from Bitcoin to Ethereum to altcoins. It didn't work out that way.
I do wonder. That's a great point. I'm glad you just illustrated all that. I do wonder if part of that's also because the altcoin market just isn't what it is today,
Right.
or wasn't quite what it was, in 2021. That said, I mean, there was an altcoin market, and I remember people were like bullish on. I remember IOTA was like a real big one back then.
Yeah.
Dash, stuff like that.
Dash was around. Yeah.
But I tend to agree with you, like in terms of when people talk about 2026, I'm with you. Like, never when you and I have been talking about 26 has it been like, oh yeah, like fall of 26, summer of 26, like maybe into the first quarter or something like that. That's kind of what I've always meant as well. And I'm glad you just showed that. So we had Ethereum topping out in January of what? That would have been
2018.
What? 18. Yeah. So
yep.
Interesting. Because I mean, if that would happen, and if you look at, like what Hex did last cycle and Hex going on its run after Ethereum topped out, I mean, you could even look at this ecosystem, maybe even going further. If Ethereum did not top out until January of 2026, which again, nobody's saying that's a guarantee, but it seems increasingly likely, kind of with the delay here and the fact that Hex has run after Ethereum has hit its all-time high. Maybe that could mean that this ecosystem could go even further than that. Not even just this ecosystem either. We've talked about other altcoins potentially running a little wee bit deeper into 2026. So
yeah,
I'm glad you showed that, Ewok. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that leads me to another thought then too, is so if Ethereum starts to pump, you don't want to be, all right, let's put ourselves in the OA shoes, right? We don't want to be the last one to pump it because then you just become everybody's exit liquidity. You want to start pumping it early. You want to make those green candles. You want to make something that people are going to jump into and say, this is it. This is it. You want to get it started. You don't want to finish it. If you're, in my opinion, if you are the OA or that entity that's, trying to make some nice candles, make some nice performance, I just really don't think you want to be at the end like that. That's why, everybody's like, oh, I can't wait till Ethereum tops. Then the OA comes in. Well, I don't know that you really want to be sitting in that position. I think you want to start doing it before then, and maybe then set some single-sided liquidity to exit your positions kind of slowly back out to maintain what you had, but you've gotten something good started, right? I mean, just my thought. I mean, that's just the way kind of I would play it if I was trying to change a market. I definitely wouldn't want to be the last one in. So,
no, I agree with that. No, I know where you're coming from, but I love that you just showed this stuff. I think it's really encouraging. And, we all need a little bit of copium right now because nothing's pumped in 4 years. So if we do have a little bit of a delay into 2026, and again, we're not talking deep into 26, that would be awesome. So either way, I mean, the cycle is on point. Bitcoin has looked phenomenal. Even lately when people have been more bearish on it and stuff like that, I mean, it's still shown a lot of strength. We're starting to see Ethereum tick up. So fingers crossed that it can get out of the doghouse here. So any final thoughts on Bitcoin and Ethereum anyway, Ewok?
No, man, I think we gave all our moon talk that we can right now.
All the moon math that we've got. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move over to the PulseChain ecosystem here. So we've got Pulse right now at, I think, what, 4 zeros and 3364. We have Pulse X at 4 zeros, 2926. We got incentive at exactly $1.50. I have Hex is at 0067, and eHex is what, like 002 or something like that. Yeah, 002 right now. So we're hanging out, as far as Pulse goes anyway, in this previous all-time low area before it tanked another 50% there, whenever that was. I think like back in March, April, probably April. So I guess my question to you, Ewok, if you wanted to look at the Pulse chart, is can we hang out in this area right now? We have seen a dip since last week. It seemed like we were finding support at that 4 zeros, 4-1, 4-2 area. And then, of course, we did lose that and came back around here to this familiar area that we've been in for a pretty long time throughout the existence of this ecosystem. I mean, this was the all-time low. It first touched this area on, well, I think it would have been into August of 23 after the SEC lawsuit, which, of course, has been assuaged and is no longer an issue. But that's when it first did, and we were like, oh, okay, cool. We're never going to go below there again. And again, we dropped down to what, 4 zeros and a 1-7 or something like that back in April or so. So do you think we can not break through this again? We have seen the sentiment over this last week. I forgot I uploaded like a 5-minute little video just about random thoughts the other day, because I think it was Monday, you and I were talking a little bit, and like on X, like everybody, like the sentiment is just, I mean, I'm never going to say like, oh, it's the worst sentiment I've ever seen, because we've probably said that like 10 times literally in the last few years. But people just so irrationally down when, again, we already covered this, but Ethereum's $2,600. Altcoins everywhere are wrecked. I mean, you can make some argument, like some people tried to do earlier today, that, you know, oh, PulseChain's worse because of this, that, or the other thing. I mean, not every altcoin, most altcoins are completely and utterly wrecked. Look at ones from last cycle, look at newer ones. I mean, like many of them are just absolutely wrecked because the Ethereum and the alt market just has not really moved yet. But in terms of where we're at right now, and then we can look at like kind of the sentiment, because it should really surprise me, like just how much people are so focused on this ecosystem as if it's solely the one that's suffering. What do you make of, can we hang out at this area, continue to make this support, or are we going back down again and it could be a pretty big plunge? What do you think?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, it looks like it has gotten support. This level is the level back. You were exactly right on, from August. When it first hit, August 1st, I believe, was the first wick that touched it, came back up, proceeded back down August 27th, 28th, right in there, to make it another touch. We kind of broke through it a little bit here in September of 24, not by much, though. It was like the difference of 3 to 3-1 or something like that. So it wasn't much. So that was like the third or almost fourth touch. 1, 2, 3, fourth touch. And it looks like, I mean, if you look at these candles here, it looks like we've made some support. It is bouncing off. It wasn't much. There's a little hammer candle here. And then now we've got another green one on this day. So it does look like support has been made, and it's trying.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to, keep an eye on it. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candles in a row. It tried to reverse, got another red one, and now we've got two more green ones. So, it's very similar to this downturn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a green one, another red. Well, this one had 2 red ones, and then it took off again. So, I'm seeing a very similar structure to this downward motion as to this one. So hopefully we can make this support. It was acting as hard resistance back here. So we'll see if we can break through that. This is the area of the 3-5 that we did break through here, but it came back down. I just don't know if we'll retest that again and hit resistance or be able to break right through it. It looks like it broke through cleanly here, but we'll have to see what happens on this one. But no, I do think we've definitely hit that, and we're using that now as support. So at least I think so. It looks like structure wise, it looks like everything is okay. And I still think a lot of people have been washed out. I really do. I mean, I think people slowly have the people that don't want to be here have sold their bags, whether they stick around on X to troll or whatever. But I think we've washed the majority out. Now there are still some very big bag holders. I think, but the ones that want to sell, the ones that want to get out, have mostly exited their positions.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So that's a good kind of transition to this. Let me ask you on the sentiment point of it, like forgetting where the exact price is and everything. To me, and I said this in that video the other day, like it just seems so short-sighted for some of these people that allegedly or seemingly have been here for a long time, maybe seen, past cycles and things like that, that are singling out this ecosystem as if it is the only thing that's suffering right now. And
Right.
never seeming to mention that Ethereum has not even gotten near last cycle's all-time high. I mean, I guess if you want to call 3,900 near it, 4,800 was the all-time high. It has not really gotten there, and that was just on, a little bit of a pump off of ETF stuff, in 2024, really. So why do you think it is? Like I was saying the other day, is it because of, I think we could probably agree that we've probably been through some of the, toughest stuff over the last few years, which is kind of part and parcel of being in this ecosystem. And like being in Hex before, it was very similar for you guys, obviously, the first time around, because you're the redheaded stepchild, because Richard isn't going to pay people to do anything. And you could also make an argument that he pisses people off, so they don't want to play ball or whatever, but also they aren't going to get paid. Like influencers aren't going to be paid by him. Exchanges aren't going to be paid by him. And it doesn't work the same way. So there has been a lot of tough stuff. We had the SEC lawsuit, all these psychologically tough things. So, and I agree with that. I understand all that. But in a way, I think you can look at all that stuff as being incredibly bullish because we won. Like Richard Hart won in court. It's a precedent that nobody else can say that they've got, including Ethereum. Literally, PulseChain has legal precedents that Ethereum doesn't even have. I mean, I don't know. I guess I want to get your thoughts on like why some of these people, and I'm not like singling anybody out, but there's some people that have been around a while that just seem like they can't comprehend the fact. You look at some of these other tokens from last cycle, they're crippled as well. So why do you think that is?
Well, I think the first reason is, we talked about this last week a little bit, and that's the fact that the people that bought tops, many of them did not DCA on the way back down. So they're still seeing their position or their break even so far away. Whether it be the SAC amount or whether it be buying Hex at 20, 30, 40 cents. They didn't DCA when people were saying, man, you should probably be getting some now. Lower your entry average price, and you're going to have a much better time with this. Well, I think a lot of people overextended themselves so much so early that they just didn't have anything left. Where others have been finding ways to cut back, finding ways to live minimally until they can DCA back in and lower that average. Like yourself, I know you've busted your ass to get your entry point back in, because when you got in, it was damn near the top. So you've made the right decision. But I see so many other people, and they're just bitter about it, right? I mean, because they're so far down, they didn't act, they didn't do anything to fix their situation. So I think that's a big part of it. I think another part of it is that when they get inside of X, it's the people they follow. There is still so much negativity out there, and it really affects your mindset. I sent that video, I posted it the other day. I thought it was really good, about how changing your mindset, and not allowing the negativity to hit you. It changes what you manifest almost. So there's a lot of that. And it's still an echo chamber. Like we're still in a, you know, a glass wall kind of thing where if you're only listening to certain people, you're only seeing this ecosystem, you're only seeing these things. Yeah, I mean it sucks, but you don't look outside to see that everybody else sucks too. So, I think that's another part. So there's like three things. It's the non-action, it's the mentality of fixing the situation that you were in, and then it's not looking elsewhere. It's not looking around the other places. Now, everybody's blaming Richard because he hasn't streamed, but I still think this red notice is definitely affecting that. He cannot live stream or they're going to swat him. They will find wherever his location is and they'll go after him. So he does still need to be careful. The videos are great when he puts them out, but whenever all that stuff clears up, hopefully then he can get back to live streaming, and I think you'll see a totally different mentality. So as far as that goes, with yes, Richard did destroy a lot of people on live stream. He did not make very many friends, unless you were following him, investing in him and the things around him. There weren't many friends made via debates or live streams or things like that. So, just that's the way it rolls though. And, he's one of those guys where he does definitely like to say, I told you so. And I still think he's going to have the last laugh.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And yeah, I think you made a good point that like maybe I'm just not realizing that because I only thought of trying to DCA to better my position and stuff. But yeah, maybe you're right that a lot of people got wrecked and then just left. I mean, we do know that that's true for some people. I mean, a lot of people like because the bull market is so hot and crazy and the bear market is so horrible, people, it's almost like you can see them buying tops and selling bottoms with their presence, like just that they show up at certain times, and suddenly start streaming again or start talking again, and then they go away. Like I'm sure what I'm describing, all of you in the chat can think of one or two people that it's like when the roses are out, it's like, oh, hey, yeah, PulseChain and all this stuff. And then whenever the chips are down, they're nowhere to be seen for months and months and months. It's just kind of the way. And that if that's what those people want to do, that's fine. I just think you kind of have to try to have the awareness to say like, okay, it seems like my emotions are getting too tied up in this. And if they're also investing that way, it may not be, may not lead you to the optimal outcome there. So yeah, well, that is where we are at with the PulseChain prices. And to kind of, we can keep on this topic a little bit because RH has had a couple of interesting posts over the last couple of days that I thought we should look at. And one of them, Arrow Point, brought up was it Arrow Point? Somebody it was him earlier. He brought up a great point trying to dissect the RH workout post from today. So RH day 3 workout decoded: 175 times 7 bench, 230 times 11 deadlift equals 3755 ETH. So there you go. I've been trying to figure those out as well, and it looks like Arrow Point has cracked the code here with RH's workout numbers. So do you have any workout tips for RH? I know that's been one of the big things that everybody's talking about over the last few days. What do you make of his workout? Should he be on a kind of a Mark Ripito 5x5 starting strength type of thing? More of a bodybuilder type split? Push pull legs? What do you think, Ewok?
I don't have advice for him. I haven't worked out in years. I think what his original point was, he's trying to give us the best, most efficient way to stay in some shape and get stronger with the least amount of work.
Strength,
I really, to get stronger with the least amount of effort and time put into it. I think that's his goal, work smarter, not harder. And that's really what I take from it. I know there were many people trying to decode and circle boxes and square. Like I saw this one tweet where somebody had it broken down and all these numbers were pulled out and they were trying to make something completely out of that. And I just really don't think there's anything there. I really don't. It was just like I said, it's maximum
Yeah, I was
results
being
for
facetious
minimum
with that
effort.
question.
No, I know. Yeah.
I think we're delayed right now, so if I just had a big delay, sorry about that. But some people are seriously decoding it. But no, I get where you're coming from, and I will say though, I do think that he is partially because some of his language with that stuff and the workout stuff he's been saying. I think that is also how he tends to think with everything overall. How can I get the best results in basically the idea of the minimum effective dose of whatever it is you're doing. How can I get the best result, the most results I can get in the quickest amount of time? You know what I mean? So that was pretty funny. And Crypto 7 brings up a great point. Eat less. I think that's great nutrition advice right there. Yeah. So let's look at his post about Amazon the other day. I thought that was kind of interesting, and I would like to get your thoughts on it. I know people have made the Amazon comparison in the past just because of how well, obviously, it's done over time, how crazy Bezos has kind of run that company and everything. And Richard's point with that post was, actually, if you want to, I really want to play the video, the clip that he shared from Bezos, because Bezos was talking about how I'm looking at like our internal numbers, whatever, like, KPIs and stuff like that. I'm seeing all this growth internally, but our stock price isn't following. And that's how he was able to continue to have the conviction along the way, because behaviorally within the company, he's seeing all these amazing things, but it's just not being priced correctly. And really, that's markets in general. Like, that's what you want to work for and look at, is what is maybe underperforming relative to the value that I think it could potentially have. So, we can take a quick look. I'll just read what Richard said, and then if you want to play that. Okay, so he said Amazon went from $113 to $6, then it went up and never looked back down there. PulseChain is better than Bitcoin with more features, more opportunity, better security, lower fees, higher throughput. PulseX is better than Uni, which with real buy and burn. Hex is amazing too, with 5 years of flawless operation. What we have now is far better than it needs to be, and the only thing missing is for people to know about it. If you've been in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or lots of cryptocurrencies long enough, you've seen similar price moves and still gone on to see new all-time high prices. Changing the world with computer science breakthrough level technology takes a while. Hang in there. First off, before we even play that video, I am curious your thoughts on this, because I feel like it's not that often that he gives like a hang in there type post like that. Like things are, like, not that he's giving clues or saying what he's doing or going to do or anything like that, but he usually won't get into anything like this because it's always like shake out the weak hands mode. And hey, if you can't hang, then see you later, But
Right.
What did you make of these kind of encouraging words?
Yeah, totally. You nailed it on the head. He doesn't often say, hang in there, things will be okay. I'm showing you an example of what Amazon did. It went from $113 all the way down to $6. It came back up and never looked back. So it never even touched it. So, he's telling us, hey guys, this happens. And things tend to work out to be okay. I do like the fact that he said hang in there, and I even gave a smiley face after it. So yeah, that was strange talk from him. Kind of words of, Richard does offer words of encouragement, but it's not often you see him say something quite like that. He does it in a little bit different of a way. So yeah, I mean, I completely said, if you've been around long enough, these things happen. You see in similar price moves, hang in there. It is good technology. It's going to work out just fine. You just got to be patient, and that's pretty much what he's saying.
You want to play the Bezos video?
Yeah, I'll play it here.
Your stock at one point, I think, went to $100, but then it went down to $6 or something like that.
That whole period is very interesting because the stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock. And so as I watched the stock fall from 113 to 6, I was also watching all of our internal business metrics, number of customers, profit per unit, everything you can imagine, defects, etc. Every single thing about the business was getting better and fast. And so as the stock price was going the wrong way, everything inside the company was going the right way.
Your stock at one point, I think, went to $100, but then it went down to $6 or something like that.
Yeah, that was it. That, and we're seeing very
pretty
similar
insane.
things
Also
too,
interesting
right?
to see.
We're seeing the metrics go up. We're seeing more
Yeah.
users come in. We're getting new onboarding things, on ramps, off ramps, getting better. Things are we're seeing those metrics change, just like Bezos did whenever he said the price was coming down. Everything else was seeming to get better in the background. So, there is so much resemblance here, between the two things that it's pretty crazy.
Interesting to see pre-jacked Bezos there as well, before he got totally jacked. But yeah, I agree, and you're right. We have been seeing for months and years now different things being built on PulseChain, lots of stuff being built out. Even the people that have been kind of the detractors of the way that Richard's been doing things, like Dipcatcher, for example. Something I thought was interesting, and we don't have to get into this. Maybe we will, because I know some people were talking about like the debate that RH Max had earlier today. And, Dipcatcher is another person that's been like I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn. He's been kind of not a fan of some of the moves that Richard has made and stuff like that. Not a fan of some PulseChain things and stuff. But what does it say that even somebody like him, like he has built something that he believes can be successful on a layer 2 where Hex is the gas token with FlexNet. But like he's still building out, like somebody who's even a detractor is still trying to build things out to help one of the products within the ecosystem that he likes. So I think that's still really good. Somebody that's a detractor is still, he didn't go somewhere else necessarily. He's still building stuff for the ecosystem. Think what you will about him. I'm not saying any of that. I just mean, at least he's still building stuff for the ecosystem, even if we do disagree with certain things,
Right. Yeah, it's totally
yeah.
positive. Definitely. That some of these.
Do you have any
guys,
final thoughts on?
Well, yeah, we are, I think we're delayed again, but either way, I think, like you said, some of these guys that we may not agree with what they're doing or how they're going about it or some of the words that they use, but they are still participating and trying to make things better in their own way. So.
Yeah. Well, good stuff from RH. It was definitely an encouraging post. And again, we don't really see that kind of stuff from him very often. So cool to see. Cool. I really like that clip from Bezos. So good as well. I think we have to touch on this thing that he also said the other day. So speaking of things he doesn't usually say very often or do very often, is if somebody tags him on Twitter or tries to get his attention or something, he's not usually somebody that takes the bait. Not that this was necessarily bait, but I thought it was interesting that Piteas, which is the DEX aggregator that you and I think have both primarily used for quite a long time now for DCAing into PulseChain and stuff, they tagged him, and basically, I forget what their original post was. I just have the RH one there, but literally one day before this post by RH, they basically tagged him and said, "Hey, like, what do we have to do to get your attention? Like, we do this, we do that." Pointed out a lot of their the good aspects of them. And then I think some people probably also then debated them about some of their stuff in the comments, which is something that is going to happen. And you and I talked about it before Richard even posted about it. Like, should they be trying to get his attention or whatever? Or, they have accomplished a lot. It's interesting that he hasn't acknowledged them. And then sure enough, one day later, he does acknowledge them, which I was honestly shocked by, just because not that they don't deserve it or anything, but just he clearly saw it and posted about it. So, and some people have a problem actually with this post right here. So we'll read it real quick. He says, occasionally, if you trade coins that have deprived PulseX of buy and burn by putting their liquidity somewhere else, this is the part people don't like, some of, you can get better order execution using Piteas.io. They're an order aggregator that combines liquidity from places outside of PulseX. But for instance, if you're trading stable or WETH for PulseX Hex, it's basically the same, except for infrastructure risk. You have to actually check what you receive as well, because some estimates aren't as good as others. Thus, it's nice to have an aggregator for weird coins. I think he's totally right about that. But sucks a bit that it starves PulseX of buy and burn. Attached are some tests showing routes. So he has some pretend swaps there showing the routes that Piteas would use based on what the swap is. And I think he makes a great point that if you are buying like meme coins or something on PulseChain that you're interested in, Piteas might be the best place for you to go. 9mm is another one that people have used to do some of that if the liquidity is a little bit better or if they can get them a better price. But I am interested, number one, what do you think of the fact that he did call them out as a positive here, but almost a little bit in a backhanded way, because he's talking about it, taking buy and burn away
Right.
from PulseX. And some people, the same people that we've kind of already mentioned earlier, and people that are kind of detractors of RH, were pissed about it and like, oh, okay, so you say that they're taking liquidity, stomping your feet about this. So what do you take overall about his response and the fact that he did mention it could potentially somewhat hurt the buy and burn for PulseX?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to realize that people aren't going to list everything on PulseX. There's a lot of things that aren't there because there are other platforms that offer better incentives to provide liquidity. So I mean, people are going to go where their money's treated best. That's how everything is. That's how it's always been, no matter what. So I think that while he's right, he wants people to use the system that he designed. It's just not always going to be the case. Now, the majority, if you look at some of this routing, much of it still does go through PulseX. There's, if you look at this one here from whatever they were swapping DAI to wrapped Pulse, you're going to go 77% here, 22% here on V2. You still have a lot of paths through PulseX. Now, if you have it over here, well, obviously that's all you're going to have. So, I mean, there's other stops, but I don't even see another route on this one. Let's see what this one does. Okay. So over here, there is this route that does go a little bit through 9mm. But you're still using majority PulseX V1, PulseX V2 on all of these. So it's very, very little. But again, you want to go where your money is treated best and wherever you're going to get the best rate. People should always look at their output. This probably can lead us into the next conversation too, of you still have to look at what your output is going to be. Like, I never just make a trade without looking somewhere else first to see if it's close or whatever. I mean, I think that's something that is a must for people. You always want to check your output. You want to see what you're going to get in return. How many coins am I going to get in return here? Okay, let me look over here and see if it's the same, similar. Is the value the same? I'm putting in $5,000. Am I getting close to $5,000? I realize they're probably going to take a little fee. Is it close, right? Especially if I'm swapping a stable coin to a stable coin or moving something along those lines where I know there's plenty of liquidity, I should be getting very similar value dollar-wise out of it from that swap. So, I get it. Yes, that it was a backhanded way of advertising for them. But again, people are going to go where their money's treated best, and you definitely want the best output. And oftentimes, PulseX is not that, that it's not the option to get the best deal. So while it may hurt buy and burn, that's not really affecting how many tokens that I want to get out of the transaction. So, that's the bottom line, is where are you getting the best deal?
I agree. And yeah, I mean, you and I have both kind of advocated for Piteas for some time, I think. And PulseX I would be using when I would do the liquidity pools, obviously, and stuff like that. You kind of have to. Sure. But, I would prefer to go to PulseX to swap, but if you can get a little bit of a better deal there. And I do agree with you. Like, if you're buying the core tokens, I mean, I think it does usually, for the majority, go through PulseX anyway. So I don't think it's way too much. Yeah. So I get why some people, were rubbed a little the wrong way that Richard had to put that qualifier statement in there or whatever. But hey, I mean, at least he shouted them out. He basically, got added at by them. And then the next day he talked about them. So pretty good for them. Anyway, I think so.
Yeah.
Do you have
Can we
any
jump?
final thoughts on Piteas or
Well, no,
anything that
I want to jump to this topic though, because it really goes into exactly what we were saying. So go ahead.
Sure. No, go ahead. I thought you were going to read it or something. Yeah, I think that's perfect to get into. So, Pulse Golden Ticket talking about it's the internet money thing. I didn't even realize it. I didn't know what it was. Okay, so this is good. So, this is something that's kind of a cautionary tale that I think we definitely have to cover. And yeah, the Piteas thing is a good transition to this. So this guy tweets the other day, in today's news, a PulseChain user lost $3,000 using internet money wallet because it routed through 9mm with no liquidity. Always check routes before signing, bros. And he shows the transaction. You can see right there, he was swapping. I don't even know what these tokens are or anything. But anyway, a whole bunch of something, $3,200, and he got $8.89 back, basically. So not good. And I've never made that mistake, but I've had times where I saw what the slippage was on something in advance, and it's like, oh shit, I can't do this. What do I got to find another way to do this or whatever. And we'll get into how to combat that. But to make this known, if you do scroll down a bit, because then we've got Internet Money's response, which they're totally correct about. I don't know if this is KG, but either way, it's a representative. Okay. He said, this is 100% user error. Please do not post sensationalist media attempting to sully our name, which I do agree is kind of what's happening here. This user was swapping an abstract tax token, there you go, and did not input the correct slippage to accommodate for the token's taxes. Jeez. We presented users exactly what they are going to receive in terms of the output token and fiat amount. When we show the available DEXs, this user did not input the correct slippage as mentioned, and therefore couldn't see all of the quotes. We show output values other than clicks, or user then clicks the DEX. We show a warning that the user has to agree to. We show the output value in tokens again, plus the fiat dollar value that the user has to confirm to again. This is not a wallet issue. Please slow down, review your trades, and read the warnings we issue. So they are 100% correct. And that's not something that I could just say for Internet Money Wallet. That's pretty much any DEX you would use. I mean, you have the parameters there to set the slippage to whatever you want. Every DEX you can, speak about a 2E walk that I've ever used has shown me if there was crazy slippage. It shows the dollar amount I would be receiving. It'll actually not even let me attempt to confirm a trade if I don't have slippage set high enough. Like if I don't have it set high enough, it just won't even go through. It'll just keep saying like retry or something like that. So this is definitely not any kind of an issue with Internet Money Wallet or any DEX. It's the nature of this trade that was attempted here. So talk a little bit about your experiences with that, being careful of liquidity and swaps like that.
Yeah. So anytime there is a tax token, when you buy these things, it's like I guess, people call them hourglass games or whatever it is. It's a tax token. You have to loosen the slippage to a high amount. Normally, I think I keep, what is it? I think it's 0.5% or lower. And this kind of goes to Duke of Booze. Thank you for the $10 super chat. This goes hand in hand with this exact conversation. So we can kind of cover this at the same time. When you swap for a normal token on PulseX or wherever, keep your slippage very slow. 0.5%, whatever it is. When you start getting into these more exotic tokens, know what they do, right? If it's a tax token, you've got to know that when you leave, sometimes you're charged 20%. And the router doesn't understand what to do with that because you're getting so less back of what it's trying to do. And if you don't lessen the slippage to where the main portion of that market is held, you're not going to get that route, and it's going to end up exactly with what happened to this guy, where he ended up with $8 because he didn't lessen the slippage. The protocols couldn't calculate why he was getting 20% less, and they were trying to go a different route, and it caused chaos. So you really have to know what token you're trading, whether it's a tax or a reflection, whatever. They all have different names. KD just said it here: tax, reflection, hourglass. They have many names, but just know that some of them will take 5% when you buy in, and then on the way back out, you may get hit for 10, 15%. That all goes into a protocol that's supposed to rebuy the tokens, and they all do different things, right? Some of them kick back to the users as a residual type, payment. Again, really know what you're buying, and if there is a tax, you really have to adjust that slippage accordingly. If you're just buying the core tokens, set that slippage very, very low, 0.1%, 0.5%, something extremely low, and you won't have to worry about the MEV bots that if you set it too high, if you say, I don't care if it has 5% slippage, you're going to get an MEV bot that will come in, that'll buy it up first, basically sell it up, and then sell it to you, and then make the difference on the spread. And they do that all the time if you're not careful. So that is how you avoid it. And like I said, the easiest way on core tokens is to really set your slippage low. And you can go into, there's usually a little gear icon up in the corner that you can adjust your slippage to whenever you're doing trades. But you just have to really know what you're trading and where the liquidity is. If you where I forget the best, there's a site that'll tell you where the majority of the liquidity is being held. Sometimes you're better off just using that site. If you know that the majority of your liquidity is on 9mm, go to 9mm. Like don't even bother with an aggregator or anything like that. You're just adding in an extra layer of the chance that something could go wrong. Or at least look at the output first, see what you're getting. You have to confirm all that stuff. So there's definitely, risks to buying those type of tokens, and selling them is even riskier too, because this exact thing can happen. So just be very, very careful. Ask somebody. If you're not sure, ask. People aren't going to think you're stupid. Don't be afraid to ask. Reach out to somebody and see what they say, or maybe they'll point you in a different direction to somebody else. But don't lose a couple grand just trying to do something that you think you know how to do, and you may not.
Yeah, and I think, like, to a point you were just saying, I mean, if you go on just some of the token ranking sites, or even DEX Screener, I think maybe if you are looking at a more obscure token or something, it will show you like where the most liquidity is usually, I think. I think you can usually get some information on some of those sites. So and then also I think from everything I've ever seen, most of the main DEXs will default to like a 0.5% slippage, to your point, Ewok, and you can go in and turn it down. I always have mine at 0.1, which, if you're buying something with a lot of liquidity, it's never going to be an issue.
Right.
But if you're buying, like, I know a lot of people have had issues with PTGC, the Gray's currency, like especially selling it. I think you actually have to set your slippage at like 6%. You have to do it on PulseX, and that is, otherwise you can't get the transaction to go through. So somebody might be able to put that in the chat. PTGC, I think, is a good example of one of those. So that is a great conversation. The one point I did want to say, and by no means is this any kind of a criticism of Internet Money Wallet or any wallet anywhere out there. I personally I would not be doing swaps in a wallet, though. I'm just not a fan of doing that. I mean, usually I forget what, I don't want to speak to Internet Money because I'm not sure what their like kind of fee schedule is for anything in there. But obviously, if you do anything like that in MetaMask, you're going to get absolutely raked. I mean, or bridging within a wallet and stuff like that, which I think they're, with all this interoperability that they're trying to bring along this bull market, like, we're going to have like a Bitcoin to Solana bridge and stuff. And it's like, you're going to pay 20% for it or something. Like, if you're doing the more convenience typically in crypto, you're going to be billed for it somewhere, whether you can see it plainly or not,
So I will speak to that with Internet Money Wallet. The fees, they have a built-in aggregator too. Like they have, it's all built into the wallet. The fee structure that comes through when you're swapping within the wallet is all paid back to it's 100% of the fees go back to the time token holders as dividends. So, there are fees, but if you hold time, then, you do get a kickback of that. So just keep that in mind. They're not as high as like MetaMask would be, but there are some extra fees, and those fees do get kicked back to the time token holders.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. I'm glad we did cover that. That was definitely, something we both saw the other day we wanted to look at. So if you guys are here and enjoying the stream, do us a favor and peg away at that like button. We appreciate you being here, supporting the stream, supporting PulseChain. I don't know if this will be where we finish off, but I think we should talk about some of the updates that you and I were just talking about moments ago before we got on the air. Another RH post on PulseChain.com updates, including the Gibbs.finance stuff, increased swap and onboard options. And we also have like the Liberty swap on-ramp updates. So I think maybe we can look at just Richard's maybe post first about that. And then if you have, I think I sent you some of the Liberty swap stuff that I think you have a better idea of all the details of than I do so far. So I could maybe have you speak to that. But there has been an update that I didn't even notice until, like I said, right before we went on the air on PulseChain.com that we'll talk about here in a moment. Richard said the other day, I think the widget on PulseChain.com now has lower fees and higher limits. How would you show various on-ramps on the site? There seems to be lots now if you include all the others on Gibbs.finance. Which ones should go above other ones and why? So yeah, this is... I didn't realize this was him saying that it looks like that's just on there now. So I went to actually DCA just a little while ago and went to pulsechain.com. And obviously we've had, an update on it now for a few weeks, and there's that bridge button on it. Typically that has still led to the old regular bridge.pulsechain, the regular bridge. Well, now, as he's speaking to here, that I guess I didn't take this into my brain the other day, there are all these other options that you can use to bridge. And I'm like, what the hell is it? I'm just trying to hurry up in DCA before the show. And I'm like, what? I don't even know what this shit is. What's going on here? It freaked me out a little bit because I wasn't used to seeing that menu. And then Ewok and I, through talking through it, realized that if you do scroll down, the PulseChain bridge link is still down there where they describe what the bridge is. So you can still just use the regular bridge if you didn't want to get into any of these yet. But it does look like a lot of these are live. There was a good selection of them on them from what I saw. I imagine I'll probably use one of them someday. I just was trying to hurry up and, get this done before the show. But yeah, what do you make of this? I know you haven't really used any yourself yet, but you saw the layout after I showed you earlier. But yeah, what do you make of this? And it's fantastic that we're getting all these options.
Yeah. So one of the things that I have really tried to do is anytime there's a widget or anything that has a link, I did notice it earlier, and I wasn't sure that that's how you were getting to the bridge. When you said it changed, I thought you meant the actual link changed. I didn't realize you were accessing it from PulseChain.com website. So that's kind of what threw me off. But I always, anytime there's a highlighted hyperlink or anything like that, I always look in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, and it'll tell you the link that it's forwarding to. And when you do go to PulseChain.com, if you click on the circle that says bridge, it has changed that hyperlink to the Gibbs.finance now. So he does mention it. He's mentioned it a couple times. Obviously, it's a trusted site, but instead of going to a new site or whatever, it does. There's a pop-up that comes up. Same with buy. You get this pop-up that he's showing here in this image. You get all this on the buy button. So it's definitely a change. It's something different, but you definitely want to be aware of where you're getting pointed to. Now, a lot of this stuff, if you like me, I have the links all saved. Like I have bridge.pulsechain.com saved. I have pulsechain.com. I have PulseX app.pulsex.com. Like I have all of those bookmarks just saved in a folder. So when I go to them, I click it. I don't follow them from somewhere else. Usually, I think that's a very, very bad idea and a good way to get hijacked, because we talked about it last week, that one website that got hijacked, and it was forwarding you to a completely different site that was cloned to look like their page, and it was a wallet drainer. So just be very, very careful. I'm glad you stopped and you said, "Hey, what's going on here? Why does this look different? What's going on?"
This? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the right thing to do. If it looks different, start asking questions. Even though it was probably completely safe, it was just different than what you were used to. So, with the changes that are being made, the different links and the different, you got the Liberty swap now, which is another one. They're doing fantastic work. I think we should actually pull that up and talk about that one. There are some big, actually, there's a couple. Let's share this one first. And it says, for those looking to onboard to PulseChain quickly and affordably, get your USDC on base from Coinbase, and then bridge it right over into USDC on PulseChain. Now, the fees, one of the things that I did see today was that they are upping the limit to $10,000 per transaction with unlimited transactions. So, a lot of these on ramps, the getting money in from your bank, they limit you so much per day or per transaction or whatever. A lot of them are only, what is it, like $1,000, $2,000 sometimes in a transaction, and it just takes forever. I did see today that these guys have upped it. Now, a little bit of conspiracy theory on this one, and I want to get your thoughts. I kind of think Richard is behind Liberty Swap. For some reason, the wording, a lot of the text, it reminds me of how Richard talks. Some of their posting that I've been looking at, he has always talked about buying an exchange, and maybe he found that it was just very, very difficult to buy an exchange, and figured that he wanted to go DeFi the best way he could, the safest, without the KYC. I'm sure it's not something that he ever wanted to deal with KYC, because he hates it himself. Just something, I don't know. I have a feeling. So have you looked into this, and what do you think? Do you think it's possible that Richard has something to do with this, or he's kind of behind the team that's working on it? What do you think?
The guy that denies anything dealing with PDI thinks that Richard is behind Liberty Swap Finance now. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like he has been talking about it. It seems like he's promoted it. I mean, but he's also done that with some other platforms. I don't know. You're talking specifically about the language that they've been posting in?
Yeah, well, that, and
he did post that. Yep.
It came out of nowhere. This was May 26th. When you look at Liberty Swap Finance page, they just joined in April. So this is brand new. Like, so for him to back something so new so quickly without anybody hearing it, I feel like, there's something more there. He's going to vet things. We haven't even taken Ethereum upgrades yet, because he's being abundantly cautious, right? I just, for him to push something this new, this quick, he either knows who's behind it, or he's maybe an investor, or something has to do. I don't know. It just was my original thought that there's a lot of things that are happening way fast on this, that he may be behind part of it.
It is interesting, yeah. Like it was a curveball, like you said, it was out of left field. I had never really heard anything about it. They don't have a large following, and he posted about it very quickly. And we're seeing updates from them pretty quickly, and a lot of updates with other stuff on PulseChain.com very quickly. So I don't know. I mean, I could see him having Yeah, I guess I could see him knowing some people behind the scenes, possibly, and maybe getting this set up. But yeah, I mean, it looks great. I mean, what are your thoughts on it overall compared to other methods? I guess.
I'm sorry. What I was reading Taylor's question. What was your question?
Oh no, about Liberty Finance though. Overall, I mean, what are your thoughts on it compared to other methods, though, in terms of what it actually does?
Well, I haven't used it. I don't think we can.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
we
think
can't in the U.S. yet. You're right.
so I haven't got a chance to play around with it. You know, I don't think it's available. Well, maybe it is.
I didn't think it was. I think I just checked it the other day and it wasn't.
I don't know if it's opened up yet or not to the U.S. users. But if you can buy stuff on Coinbase and USDC, I don't know. Yeah,
I don't
right
think
now
you can because it would tell you right away that it doesn't work for us.
well, I didn't connect a wallet either. It's coming up for me. I don't know.
What's the actual site? What's the site?
I just posted it in the chat.
Oh, my
LibertySwap
bad. I got it.
Finance. I put it in the. Somebody asked what it was. Essentially, what you have to do is right now you buy USDC on base, right on Coinbase, and then you swap it right to USDC on PulseChain. It's an instant bridge between base and PulseChain that you can send your USDC right over, and all you're doing is entering your you connect your wallet. I don't know. I'm thinking Internet Money may be the best for this because it already has base and PulseChain pre-programmed. Right from the go. So otherwise, you're switching back and forth trying to do different things and copy and paste addresses. But yeah, and there's very little fees. Like I'm talking pennies. Like that's the big thing with this is I think somebody had mentioned that they ran a test. Where was it? I just saw it the other day. They ran a test of like $100, and I think they ended up losing 30 cents or something like that. It was a very crazy amount. Super cheap, super fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something to check out.
It does look good, and yeah, maybe we were thinking of something else that wasn't available in the U.S. because I thought it was this, but it might be one of the other recent things because it did load on my phone and everything. But maybe you do have to connect a wallet. I think though it just sees where you are and would tell you if you can't use it in the U.S. though, so I think it's okay. But yeah, another really good way to get into the ecosystem quickly. And you made a good point about this the other day when you were talking about it. I mean, ETH gas prices have been great for the longest time. We are seeing a very slight tick up right now. Like I saw it way over 10 today, which still is not really that high. But when it comes to swapping and stuff, it's pretty egregious even right now when it's that high. But bridging, we've been able to do so for literally 50 cents, $1 from Ethereum for months and months. But if that does get up to say $20 or something like that, you've got these other alternatives now, which are going to be huge when things get like that. If Ethereum ever gets expensive again,
Yeah, and base is cheap to begin with. So I mean, your fees on base are going to be super low. Your fees on PulseChain are low. Keep that in mind too. You just mentioned that Gwei was up around 10 or whatever it was. I know there are people out there that are ending hex stakes on the Ethereum side. Even at 10, it can be a little pricey. My advice to you is once your stake ends, you have 14 days. Don't feel that you have to do it right away. Your best bet is to wait for a weekend in the middle of the night or when it's late on a weekend and the other part of the globe is asleep. Try it then. So it's just don't forget about those little tips and tricks there. So just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, but this is another good way to get in. I like it a lot. And yeah, it is interesting that he's covered it so quickly and that we've got it, just here at the forefront out of nowhere. So you could be, maybe you're right. I mean, maybe there's some kind of involvement or, knows people or something like that. So, but yeah, Liberty Swap looking good. Another way to get into the ecosystem. Is there anything you want to wrap up on here, Ewok? I kind of got to hang it up after maybe one more thing, but what else do you want to look at real quick?
Well, we can. This is an interesting question. I don't know why Taylor doesn't think he'll ever live stream again. I honestly think once the red notice goes away, that he will live stream. He's got a lot to brag about. He will have a lot to brag about. And we all hope that he does. I mean, his presence makes the difference of this ecosystem or not. I really think it doesn't need to. I don't think it needs to. But he kind of made that part of his stick whenever the first cycle came around, where he was educating people and telling people how it is and warning people about other things that ultimately failed, a lot of them. So I really think that, as much as we say we shouldn't rely on him and he shouldn't have to be around to stream, the products work by themselves, whether he does or doesn't. But I really do think that it just adds that extra element to the chain, to the community. It brings people together. It gets everybody on the same goddamn page again, instead of being so fractured and everybody wanting to be like, I feel like you get pulled in 17 different directions because, the leader kind of has been quiet. And honestly, things were much better when he was around and streaming and correcting people and setting them straight. People listened. It's just odd, how fractured it kind of became. Everybody, I think, saw the wealth, kind of wanted a piece of their own, said, I can do this or whatever. And then, that's when the shit talking starts. That's when the fracturing begins. And, but I don't think his streaming days are over. I just think that we really need the red notice to be over, done with, gone. Otherwise, there are many streamers that have, evaded things. How do you think John McAfee got caught? There was several other people out there that were found based on their IP address because they were live streaming and they were wanted by somebody. The SWAT team showed up and found out exactly where they were. So I don't think that's an option until this whole red notice goes away, because these countries who think they're entitled to some money or whatever it may be, before it gets dropped, will probably go to great lengths to get it. So just don't be surprised that if that doesn't happen. If we see some videos that are pre-recorded and put out, that's the best we're going to get for now, which is fine. It should be enough to tide people over. His lawyers are pretty top notch. And I imagine they're working on this, as we speak. At least I hope so. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
No, and I'm even a fan of the videos, even if they are recorded and uploaded. I don't really care as much about the live streams. I mean, I think they're better and would be cool and stuff like that. But I think another thing to consider too is, like, look at the stuff that he did just have to go through over the last few years. Now, you could argue that he brought, I mean, if you're a rich man, you're going to have people slinging shit at you. I mean, you look at like Donald Trump over the last few years, look at Musk, Bezos, whoever it is. I mean, if you have a lot of money, people are going to come after you no matter what. Do you want to make that easier for people? I mean, that's one thing that you just have to realize. And you can argue, what's the cost of, how much is he, advertising for the ecosystem when he streams, and what's the cost benefit of that, as opposed to like, oh, maybe I could find his IP address and this entity can try to go after him for money, or this entity. I mean, he has an open target just because of being a rich man. People want to shake you down. That's what we saw from the SEC. It's what we saw from the Finnish government. I mean, that's just what people do. But yeah, I don't really have an answer as far as like if he will again, when he will again. I have a feeling that it'll probably never like, I don't say never, but I don't think it will mirror what he did last cycle. Like, I think that he was really needing to get on the map, needing to get Hex on the map. And I think he successfully did do that. I mean, he got that crypto mind share. People know who he is. Even if it's like a bad connotation, people are like, oh, Richard Hart. I mean, it's known now. People know him. People know Hex. So I think he accomplished that. So I don't think he'll go exactly back to the same streaming. And I just real quick wanted to address, like, the more and more you and I have talked about it the last few weeks, Ewok, the more I'm 100% with what we've been saying on it. Sun God, who has been great in the chat tonight, but he says Richard has made some mistakes. The OA wallet, anyway, buying ETH for the SAC wallet, buying ETH at 4K. You and I 100% agree that money was sitting in stable coins. There were things happening and people were, gunning for this ecosystem. What if something happened when that money was in stable coins? We've seen USDC and Tether both blacklist wallet addresses recently. We need decentralized stable coins, and it's a huge problem. And I think it is one of the big narratives of this cycle. We've talked about it. The timing could have simply been, I don't want to be sitting in stable coins and I want this to be an Ethereum. Nobody can touch it anymore. You know what I mean? I don't think that it was necessarily just some blind, one-click buy FOMO. I don't think that's all that was.
No, I definitely don't think that he thought it was the bottom. I think there was shit. I don't have a choice. I need to get out of this. So my funds aren't either A, hijacked, or B, frozen, or they can totally invalidate that, or whatever it's called.
Blacklist.
They blacklist your wallet, which nobody cares. There's ways around that too. I mean, there's things that can go into mixers and things like that, but they can totally invalidate your tokens. They can make them nothing, or even we've seen different protocols take money back from hackers. So if they can do it, there's possibly there are possible ways where they can say, well, these aren't yours now. We're going to hold on to them for you until this is all settled. So, again, I saw that comment too, and I was like, we talked about it last week and the week before. I just really don't think he had a choice. He had to get out of the stable coins and into something that was way more decentralized, and that's why that was like that.
I am with you. Well, I think that'll do it. A lot of great stuff here tonight. Very active chat. We appreciate you guys being here. This feels like a bull market chat. So very good stuff. Sun God, great. Sigawolf, Arrow Point, Destroyer. We had Tam here earlier. Taylor, thanks for your stuff. Alaska Fisherman, KD. I saw Johnny Chaos in there. Crypto 7 was here. RH Max was here. Lots of great people. Hex Girl, Michelle. A lot of great people here tonight. So we appreciate all of you. Checks my pulse. We will be back here same time next week. We do this every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm sure we'll have much more bull market drama to talk about as we move on in 2025 here. So thank you all for Crypto Ewok. This has been Beach Boy Crypto in the Florida Keys. We'll catch you here next week on the Creative Crypto. See you guys.
See ya.